Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the live stream again. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you guys want us to cover any specific stocks, just let us know in the live chat and we'll cover them. But Tom, I saw some pretty interesting movement out of Netflix. I know it tanked off that. I don't even want to say bad earnings. It was really just the subscriber numbers, but it's slowly coming back up in pre-market. Do you see any like big levels you're watching or anything like that?
Yeah, it's really pulling back. I mean, I'm going to be watching the high of pre-market this morning, which is around 509 to 510. I think if we can pass 510, we might see a pretty good move back to the upside out of Netflix. But that was a terrible subscriber. I will say that's some terrible subscriber numbers that they had. They were supposed to get around 6 million additions, and they only had around 3.8 million or something, very close to that. And that's just a pretty big difference there out of that expected and what it actually ended up being. And I think that really shows that the economy, number one, is reopening and that people are getting back out and they're not all just subscribing to Netflix like they were. So obviously expect some of these streaming services like Netflix and Disney Plus to possibly just lose subscriber count just as people kind of get back out and start going back out into the economy and kind of getting out of the house a little bit more.
Yeah, it's actually a great point. So I just want to give a little shout out to everyone who joined. Thanks for joining Mason, Matt, Bill, Hunter, and Raphael. Like I said, if you guys want us to cover any specific tickers, just let us know. Jerry, too. So let's go with Raphael. He said OCGN. So let's take a look at it. Oh, wow. It's actually really pumping up, Tom. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. OCGN this morning is looking great above 680. If we could break that at market open, it would be fantastic. Let's go out to that daily chart. So remember 680 on the daily. Wow. Yeah, the daily's not looking too good for OCGN. It has been pulling back the past couple months, but if we do see it start to run today, definitely expect it because it's a pretty volatile stock. And the last time it really ran, it broke out above $5 and ran all the way up to $15. So definitely watch out because the last time we broke out of this level, there was a huge move.
Sounds great. Yeah, it's definitely a runner. Like you said, the last time it broke out, it went from like $5 to $18 actually. So it's definitely a mover. I'll definitely have my eye on it. Welcome Vicky to the stream. And then we have Jerry saying just subscribed and left a thumbs up. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. And it really helps us grow. And then Jerry said, did VZ beat earnings? So Verizon, let's take a look. Let's see the numbers real quick.
Yeah, they posted a 1.287 EPS, or that was the estimate, and the actual is 1.31. So they did beat it very slightly, but they might have some weird information that came out about the earnings. We'll have to find an article on it because there might be something with how many people are subscribed to their cell phone service or something like that.
Yeah. So initially, it looks like they did beat earnings very slightly, but it doesn't look like anything crazy. I'm trying to look through the news right now. And Tom, the market just opened. So let's take a look at the SPY. How are we looking? It looks like we're down just a little bit. If we look at the QQQ, let's take a look. Also down a little bit. So yeah, looks like we're finally open. It looks like for the SPY, we're bouncing off that 411 support level. The SPY touched off that level like, what is this, 4 or 5 times in the past 5 days. So it looks like a pretty strong level.
Yeah, definitely. And we're posting a really green candle off of open, popping above that 100 SMA. Hopefully we can kind of see a green day today out of the SPY. I mean, we've been seeing the SPY fall quite a bit. And I personally would like to see a continuation out of it, but it looks like at open here initially, we're seeing some green out of it. So we're going to have to be careful here, especially with short positions, because it looks like that the market is kind of popping back up here.
Sounds great. Welcome. I'm Fierce. So yeah, let's just take a look. It looks like, it looks like bank stocks are tanking at open, which is pretty good because I know, Tom, you have a position. But yeah, SPY's rebounding. Bank stocks are falling a little bit. Boeing's continuing down. Airlines are continuing down. Remember we talked about this one in the beginning of the live stream yesterday. We were talking about how this could be a pretty good continuation play, and it's breaking lows right now. I'm looking at UAL. It's breaking lows. Looks like it has a decent amount of momentum. It's definitely not looking too good. I'm trying to see some other hot sectors this morning. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. That's bouncing up. Peloton, how are they? Oh, wow, Peloton's getting back to that support around 102. It's not a good sign. DraftKings popping back up. So,
Wow, yeah, Peloton's really going down to that support, Mike. I have a pretty solid support posted at 102, and it looks like it's trying to bounce off that. But man, I wonder if Peloton can hold that level today with all that negative news that's been going on.
And then look at Mara and Riot too. These things are down again. I know that there's a ton of I don't know, like I don't want to say like hype, but there's just a lot of people are talking about it to say it like that. But Mara's down another 7%. Let's take a look at Riot down about 5%. It's definitely not looking good. And I was looking at Bitcoin and it wasn't doing like bad. You know what I mean? Like I was just looking at it. What was it, like 10 minutes ago, and it was doing fine. But yeah, they're really starting to tank.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Bitcoin and Mara and Riot, unfortunately, are going down, and a lot of people have been banking on them to go up. But like you said, Bitcoin's starting to go up. So I think that we might see a pop back out of Riot and Mara here, especially if Bitcoin can keep rising. It's actually looking pretty bullish, I think, on Bitcoin right now. The setup is it has a pretty good double bottom here around 54,438 on the futures, and it just looks like a pretty solid bottom. I think we might gap back up to around 60,000 or something like that over the next day or two.
And then we have Jerry saying he just got filled on MU calls, so it looks like he got those right at support. Hopefully it bounces up for you. Looks like there's support right around $86.50. So yeah, I hope it bounces up. Let's take a look at the daily real quick. I mean, it doesn't look bad. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it looks bad either. MU's having a pretty big bounce right now off that support at 86.50. You said he just grabbed calls, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. Then I think he's got a pretty good position here off of this bottom. If we keep breaking down though, it won't be too good. But I like how he waited and he bought next to all these supports. Obviously, if he would have bought up here around 90 or 92, it wouldn't have been too good. But he did wait a little bit and got in all the way down here at the bottom, which is great. And like you said, that daily chart is starting to look pretty good on it. Hopefully, it can hold this support because if not, it has been falling quite a bit, and it could fall a little bit more. I have another support if it breaks here down around 82. So just watch out.
Sounds good. And then we have Mason asking about DraftKings and a possible support level. So I am a huge fan of DraftKings. They were kind of a letdown with March Madness, but either way, they pulled back a lot over, you could say, the past month. They are at support right now, right around $55, and then their next major support would be around 50. So hopefully we could see a bounce here. If not, the next major support would be around 50. I'm a huge fan of them for the long term. Like if you wanted to get leaps on this stock, it's probably a really solid time. The implied volatility is super low, and then also the stock price fell. So I really like the setup for the long term. But to answer your question, I'm seeing support around $55.50. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the same thing. I really like DraftKings, though, for the longer term, like you said. It has been going down quite a bit, and I think it's due to actually pop back up here. The high is around 74.38. We can just say 75 just to make it easy, but we made it fall down to 54 now, and on that daily, we can see around 54, it's bounced quite a few times, anywhere around 54 or even down here by 52 to 53. So definitely watch out. We're getting really close. I think that if we do break this, it'll be pretty unfortunate. We might fall to like 45 or even 50, but we'll have to see what goes on. I will say it's a pretty good pickup here, I think, for shares or for cash secured puts. And I know, Mike, you've been calling out cash secured puts on this for the past few weeks, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. So I love cash secured puts, especially if you love a stock for the long term. Like when it falls, you can sell some puts and get some great premiums. And in the worst case scenario, like when you lose, the worst case scenario, you're just picking up shares at your strike price. So in my opinion, it's a huge win-win only if you do it correctly. And the main component is you have to make sure you wouldn't mind holding those shares for the long term. And then we have Keith asking about the VIX. So VIX, let's take a look at the VIX chart. It's up around 2.5% today, trending up while the market is kind of doing nothing. So that shows that investors are anticipating more of movement over the next couple weeks. But it is popping up a little bit. It looks like it's right under that $20 level. So I mean, it is starting to increase, but it's not like the VIX is at like 30 or anything like that. But either way, I'll definitely have my eye on it. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting movement. I think that going forward here over the next couple of weeks, like you said, I think that with all these stocks being at the highs that they're at, I think that a lot of investors are going to start taking profits, and that's really going to make VIX kind of shoot back up here, I think. And I don't think that we're going to fly back up to 30, like you said, but if we do pop up, I think we might see a decent pop, maybe up to like 20 or 22.
Sounds great. And then we have, let's see, and then we have, I'm Fierce saying, I closed my airline puts on UAL and AAL just before they are running up now. So let's take a look at airlines again. It looks like they were tanking around open. Now they're kind of pulling back just a little bit. IV is rising, so they definitely look a little scary. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I personally would be, I'd have a lot of problems trading this right now, especially if you're day trading it. I think it'd be pretty tough. You might be able to get some swings into there, but right now, especially with earnings coming up, I think that this can go either way. And it's very volatile. I would have kind of expected that IV to kind of shoot up with this type of movement, but we can see though how big this pre-market candle was as well. So definitely be careful over the next couple of days. I don't know if this was a glitch or something, but sometimes in pre-market those spreads can get pretty wide. So someone probably just got a really weird fill, but just watch out because it looks like that a lot of these stocks, they might fall back down. And if we're looking at daily charts and with earnings coming up and everything, Netflix just tanked on earnings too. I know that this is not the same sector at all, but just seeing negative earnings in the news can kind of already get that mindset into people. And I think that that's going to have a pretty big impact going forward, is that a lot of these earnings have been negative so far, and that airlines and a whole lot of different sectors are going to be reporting. And it's going to be a pretty scary time for the market, especially with it being at all-time highs. And a lot of these tech stocks are at all-time highs as well, and they could easily just be pulled back just because of the volatility.
Well, check out Tesla real quick. That one's actually down around 2.5% today. It's getting very close to that 700 support level. So I don't want to say it's tanking because it's not tanking, but it's definitely coming down. It looks like they have support right around 700 and then another one right around 690. So this one might be pretty good for some day trades later on today. And I even saw Apple a little bit. That one's fallen. Looks like support's right where we are now, actually, like right around 130, 175. So, we are seeing some pretty influential tech stocks pull back while the S&P 500 is actually rising a little bit. If we look at the QQQ, that one's pulling back a little bit. So we have a little bit of a discrepancy right here. We have the QQQ coming down and the SPY coming up. Let's take a look at the VIX. That's creeping up a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely it's interesting to see how some of these big tech stocks are pulling back.
Yeah, for sure. And Mike, give me 1 second. I'm just updating a position really quick.
Yep, sounds good. So with the next question, we have, we have John Y asking about Square to the 215 level. So I'm going to take a look at Square real quick. 215 is pretty far out. Right now it's around 240. I'm not sure what time frame you're looking at, John. Let me run a probability test real quick. Give me 1 minute. So I'm looking at the May 21st expiration, and I'm going to find the probability of this stock touching 215. So let me take a look. 215, it has about a 50% chance of touching 215 by May 21st. So hopefully that helps. It's a little bit far out of the money, but it's not crazy. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's about a 50% chance according to market makers. And then we have, we have Click saying, good job. What do you think about buying shares of SWBI? So let me take a look at this one. SWBI. Tom, what do you think about this one? Smith & Wesson.
Yeah, this one's actually one of my favorite stocks. Biden lately has been kind of, hurting the gun stocks a little bit. And I think that it could be posting a good time to buy some of these stocks. Now, sometimes more regulations actually help these gun companies go up in price. And we've seen in the past, Smith & Wesson and Ruger and a few of the other ones rise whenever some regulations get passed. And I think that if we start to see some gun bills come across, it'll obviously make a lot of people rush to the stores and buy a whole lot of guns really quickly. And I think that that's going to be the big thing with Smith & Wesson. It might have a pop initially off that news, but then in the longer term, it might go down. So I think it's a pretty good pickup here. We're in the middle of the range. I'd personally like to grab it somewhere around $15 and then maybe hold it up to 22. Right now, we're sitting around 18. So you might see a drop back down to the bottom of that range, especially with this weird catalyst with the gun laws. You never know which way it's going to make it move, but sometimes you do see a pop though whenever people rush to the stores with those weird laws getting passed.
Sounds good. And then I'm doing a quick scan real quick just to see what's moving. So Apple's the main thing that's moving right now. We even have Pfizer exploding. It's already up 1%. And, I know 1% is only 1%, but Pfizer is a value stock. It really doesn't move too much. So Pfizer's definitely on the move. We have Muscle saying, when will tech come back? Any top plays for today? Thanks. Well, thanks for joining the stream. The main thing I'm looking at right now is I'm just keeping an eye on Apple to the downside. I normally don't trade for like the first, maybe 15 to 20 minutes in the open. I like to see like what's like actually moving and then just play from that. But right now, Apple is looking pretty bearish. It's already down 1.3%. So it's definitely not looking too good. If we go back to Tesla, this one is pulling back a little bit. So the main one I'm watching is Apple to the downside and maybe Pfizer to the upside. I saw a lot of money flowing into WFC put too. So that's kind of on my radar, but the main thing would be Apple to the downside.
Yeah, I can't believe how good Apple's actually looking to the downside. It just broke below that pretty good resistance there, like 130, 180, or support, I should say, and it's just been tanking.
Yeah, look, Apple's a powerhouse either way, so this is probably just going to be like a short-term pullback. But, for the short term, like you said, it's definitely not looking too good. And then we have James asking about Tesla. So if we look at Tesla, it's really consolidating right at that 700 support level. I'm not going to say it looks fully bearish just yet because it is holding that 700 support, which is good to see. But, it's definitely not looking great either. So the way I would play this is like if we end up breaking below Tesla, I'd probably grab some puts. But right now, probably just going to be no play. We're probably going to see a lot more consolidation around this 700 support. It bounced off this level a lot of times in the past.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just been one of those weird things where we're hitting $700. And I think the way to play this today would have been to play a little scalp on it whenever it hit 700. It went below a little bit, but if you could have gotten some calls right then and held it back up to like 702.50, you could have played a pretty good scalp play. And that's all I would do with this today. I would just trade it as a scalp. I personally would not buy this and hold it around this 700 support because it could break below that and go pretty far down, or it could bounce pretty significantly off it to the upside. So this is going to be a pretty scary area to buy and hold it. But if you wanted to like day trade it really quickly, it might be a pretty good trade, with a bounce back to the upside off 700 or something like that. But you just have to also understand that if you see a move now back down below 698, you need to exit that pretty quickly. For sure.
Well, guys, let us know if you're watching any specific stocks. We'll take a look at them. Thank you guys so much for being here. We have a new stocked up phone number now. Text stocked up to 39970. The number is right towards the top of the screen. Just really quick market updates and stuff like that. But yeah, really, thank you guys so much for being here. It's our third stream. Looks like the market isn't doing too much right now. We're seeing a little bit of a divergence with, tech stocks falling a little bit, but then we have the SPY coming up. So yeah, let us know what you guys are looking out for. We have Trevor saying, what do you guys see with NNDM support? So Tom, I'll let you cover this one.
Yeah, for sure. NNDM has a pretty solid support here. It's not at 650. It's more of at like 660, but it's a really good support. It is around $7 as well, and it actually just fell below that today. Let me get on the 1 minute chart here so you can really see how it's starting to move down. I personally would start to play puts on this. I think this looks like a great put opportunity right now, especially if it can keep falling down. If it falls below like 685, definitely watch out for it to keep moving. I love it below this 1,000 SMA today. yesterday, right before close, it hit that SMA and then shot right up. And then today it opened, it actually hit that SMA and now is posting a pretty red candles. So watch out. I think it might fall to the downside today, but over the next few days, if we can hold that 657 to 660 support, I think it might be pretty good. On the daily, it doesn't look too bad, at least over the past month or two. Over the past couple of years, it definitely looks pretty bad, but over the past year, it looks pretty solid.
Sounds good. And then we have, let's see, we have Jerry saying SPY looking great, new high of day. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, it is definitely creeping up there. It's just interesting to see that divergence with some of these tech stocks pulling back and then the SPY pulling up. So, it's definitely interesting. We have some pretty mixed momentum this morning. The SPY is up 0.03%, so no crazy movement either way. Some of the largest movers so far this morning would definitely be Pfizer to the upside, Apple to the downside. Looks like we have NCLH creeping up too. That one's up around 5% already. So those are some of the hot stocks this morning. We have I'm Fierce saying, what are your thoughts on buying shares of CPNG at this price? It looks good for the long term. So CPNG, I actually never heard of this one. Let me take a look at it. I have no idea what this company does, so I'm not really sure about it. CPNG, Tom, do you have any thoughts on it? Looks like it's coming pretty close to support right around like 41.50, you could say.
Yeah, definitely. It's getting close to that support. It did gap down kind of this morning, but not the worst. If we go to that max daily chart, it is a pretty recent IPO and it's fallen pretty significantly. And it looks like on the daily, there's that 41.41 level there. So we're getting pretty close. It's not looking good though to me. I mean, if you want to pick up shares at that support, it's not the worst time to get them, given that the highs are around $69. But I don't know what they do fundamentally, and I would only grab shares of this if you like it for the longer term. And as far as day trading it goes, it's not looking too good to me to the upside. I think it's looking pretty bearish, if anything.
Sounds good. And then we have, let's see, with the next question, we have Matt saying Walmart and KO are running. So let's take a look at them. Two value stocks. Yeah, Walmart was definitely running. Let's take a look at KO. Looks like an earnings continuation with KO. So they look pretty good. They're slow-moving value stocks, but you can get some pretty good priced options with them. I mean, they definitely don't look bad. Do you have any thoughts, any resistance levels? Looks like KO has resistance right around 55. And then Walmart was breaking out yesterday. Yeah, I mean, as long as it breaks a high day from yesterday, it should look pretty good.
Yeah, it's also moving off the 100 SMA and the 200 SMA. So I will say that movement will be good above 141.77, which was the high of yesterday. So just watch out for it. I think it will be a pretty good play today. Whenever we look at the 1 minute chart, it looks like it's just kind of like it's pretty it was initially bullish, and now we're just kind of having some volatile candles here, just trading between like 141.40 and 140.80, and it looks like we're going to break out of this one way or the other, I think, pretty significantly. But it just depends which way, and we'll have to see which way it decides to go. But hopefully it goes above 141.77 to the upside. And let's go to that daily chart on Walmart as well. And yeah, it's really starting to actually break out on the daily as well. It's right at that 100 SMA, and I think we might go up and test that resistance up there around 147 over the next couple of weeks, I think.
Sounds great. And then we have M saying, what's happening with Snap? Earnings are tomorrow. So let's take a look at it. Snapchat's down around 0.1% today. They do have earnings tomorrow. So yeah, it looks like it's just consolidating a little bit right now. It's not really doing anything, but it just had a huge green candle. I'm trying to see if there's any major news. Let me see. I don't know. I'm not seeing any major news on it, but that's definitely a pretty big candle, Tom. Look at that.
Yeah, it actually hit off a pretty good support down here around $57 or $56.80. It was a pretty good level, and like you said, that's a very volatile green candle that we're seeing out of this. It's coming up. There's also a pretty good resistance coming up around 58.90 to 59. So watch out for that. If we break that, I have it going up to around 60 to 61. So definitely watch out for this to be a possible day trade today. Snap's always had decent options as well. So it's just been one of those good stocks to trade, especially in the options market. And it has a lot of good movement as well. So just be careful though. Earnings are coming up. So I would not hold this. I would only day trade it today, especially because they're tomorrow.
Well, look at the SPY real quick. We're kind of rocketing up. Now we're up around 0.2%, but just like from open to right now, definitely a lot of green candles. Let's take a look at Apple. It was falling. Now it's actually all the way back up. Let's take a look at Pfizer. It's really starting to rocket, up 1.2%. I'm trying to see some other big movers today. It looks like DAL is actually running up a little bit. Pfizer, IBM, AMD's up around 1.3%. So looks like the SPY's coming back a little bit.
Yeah, and now Morgan Stanley even had an analyst upgrade today. This morning, right before market open, an analyst actually, they upgraded this to $90 a share and made it a buy rating. So watch out for Morgan Stanley to possibly have some good movement over the next couple of days. I mean, these banks, they initially got hurt off of those bad earnings, but that's a very strange upgrade right now to $90 on Morgan Stanley. So just watch out for that.
Sounds great. And then we have Vicky asking about TDUP. So let's take a look at it. TDUP looks like it's up around 5% and it's running up right now. Looks like they had some news. Let's see. Yeah, looks like they had a little bit of news. An outperform rating. And then if we go to their daily chart, doesn't look bad. Looks like you're buying it pretty close to lows, which is good to see. Definitely not a bad setup.
Yeah, it's not. And I actually really like the way it's running on the 15-minute chart here. It just looks like a multi-day runner with these stair steps to the upside. And if it breaks the high of today, definitely look at getting in. But if you could have gone in right at open, it would have been even better.
Sounds good. And then we have Jerry saying, can we look at MU's charts? Let's take a look at it, Tom. If we look at MU right now, MU is up very slightly. Looks like it's trying to bounce a little bit. IV's rising a little bit too. Do you have any levels, any support levels, anything you're watching out for?
Yeah, over the past couple of days, there's been a great level at 86.50. I think that's a very good support here. We also broke above the 1,000 SMA, which it's failed to do over the past couple of days as we've been moving to the downside. So we might see some upwards momentum here. But at the same time, just keep in mind that we might come back down and like retest the 87.50 support again before we do go back up, or we might come back down and test the 86.50 support even. So just be careful with it. But I will say, with it popping above the 1,000 the way it did today, it's looking pretty good. I would hope that as we come back down here and consolidate a little bit, it could pop back up. And these semiconductor stocks, they are due to have another great year over the next year. So definitely they might have a little short-term pullback, like I said, but over the longer term, they should be fantastic.
Looks like Netflix is actually reversing. So I know they were down a ton in after hours yesterday. They tried to run up this morning, but now they're finally starting to pull back. If we look at Netflix, now they're down around almost 8% on the day. Some of these weekly put options on Netflix are up 100%. Actually, I was looking at the wrong chain. Some of the weekly put options, they're only up around 100%, maybe like 63%. I was kind of expecting a larger pop on some of these puts, so I could actually sell some pretty far out of the money puts. But yeah, I mean, Netflix is it's not really doing anything, to be honest. It's down a lot, but in terms of what it's been doing from open, it's just kind of been going back and forth, back and forth. If it continues to fall, I know I'll definitely be selling some puts on it, but right now I'm just kind of neutral.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always a good thing to sell puts on to get shares possibly, or just to pick up that easy premium. The chances of this thing to continue to fall that much, I think, are pretty insane. The way it drops 7.4% right now is also pretty crazy. It was 10% at the lows, or even lower than that. So definitely watch out. But it is starting to actually hold these levels. So I don't know what to think about it today. I'm more of neutral on it than anything, I think.
Sounds good. And I want to take a look at SKLZ. This stock has just been falling almost every single day for like the past 2 months. It looks like we're finally starting to see a little bit of a rebound right now. It's up around 8% today, which is good to see. But, over the past, just 2 months, this thing has just been doing horrible. Looks like all-time highs right around $46. Right now it's all the way down to $13. So SKLZ, Tom, that's the ticker. But what do you think? Any levels, anything like that?
Yeah, I've actually been watching this one. I've been waiting for it to kind of pop back up, and today looks like it was the day. Definitely watch out today as it's coming up. There's a pretty good resistance around $14. So that's my first level. After 14, watch out for 14.50. That was another previous resistance there. I really like how it double bottomed over the past couple days at 1250. And if we go to that max daily chart, 1250 also poses a great level in the past. So this might be a pretty good pickup here. And with the market at all-time highs, if we do see the market pull back, sometimes these smaller stocks that are I don't want to say like pump and dumps, but just these smaller like hype stocks like SKLZ and some of the other ones, they like to pop up almost whenever the market's going down. So it might be a pretty good time to pick up shares on this, especially at support. And its all-time low is around $9.81. So you're not too far off from that if you like this company for the longer term.
Sounds great. And then we're going to take a look at, let's see, Angel was talking about Shopify. So let's take a look at that one. Shopify is up about 1% today. They do have earnings pretty soon. It looks like they have earnings on the 28th. Right now, it kind of looks like a kind of similar pattern to MU. It fell a little bit over the past like week or so, and it's trying to bounce back up. Yeah, it's actually kind of a similar pattern to Snap too. So, I mean, it doesn't look bad. Just be careful of that earnings. Looks like it's bouncing off support right around 1100, which can be pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. And let's go ahead and see Morgan Stanley really quick. I got a question. He asked if you should bail on it. Yeah, I think you should go ahead and bail on it. Stocks gains. It looks like one of those plays where with that upgrade, you never know which way it can go. And that's my reason of getting out of it. I think I got out right at break even. So just watch out on it, because with that upgrade, it could definitely go up. But yeah, it did have a couple red candles on the 1 minute chart, but just keep in mind that that's always going to happen. And the overall move still might be up with that upgrade, because that's a pretty big upgrade all the way to $90.
For sure. And then I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining the stream. It's only our third stream, so there might be a couple of technical errors here and there, but we really do appreciate all of you guys joining. We have a great time streaming, and just want to give a little a shout out / appreciation message. Thank you guys so much for joining. We really appreciate it. And then we have, let's see, with our next questions, we have T saying, SPCB, evil always wins, get in before the pumpers. Yeah, so SPCB, let's take a look at this one. SPCB, let's take a look at it. So yeah, I mean, this is just a penny stock. It's not really doing anything, to be honest. It has some pretty high pumps every now and then, but it's not really doing anything.
Yeah, it's not. And it's kind of at support right now around like $1.20. Maybe that's why he's getting in. It does look like a pretty good buy off of that support, but if it falls below that even a little bit, I would cut it instantly. It's not a safe stock to have. And personally, I just don't trade stocks like this with these types of setups. But if it does get a pretty good pump like he's talking about, and if it starts to really break above $2, it could be a great play. But just keep in mind that the chances of that happening are probably pretty low.
Sounds good. And then we have James and Raphael asking about GSX. Tom, we've been talking about this one since Monday morning. It just keeps going up. GSX. It looks like we are up around 2.5% on the day with this stock. It's still pumping right up. It's getting very close to highs in pre-market. It looks pretty good. Remember how we were talking about how someone put a couple million into the calls that expired this week? It's doing very well, actually. It is very volatile, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. Yesterday was a pretty crazy day for it. It fell all the way down to 25.50. Now today we're all the way back up to pre-market highs at 28.62. So definitely some volatile movement out of it, but it's been looking pretty good. Like you said, on that daily, someone put millions of dollars into those calls that expired this week. So there was a pretty big chance, I think, that it was going to move. And it was just a great call out, Mike, by the bot, and just a good call overall. And we've been watching it. And yesterday, whenever it dropped like that, I personally didn't expect it to recover the way it did, but it's amazing to see it do that. And hopefully the guy who had all those calls didn't sell out yesterday.
For sure. No, I just checked, actually. He's still holding. So he's probably pretty happy with the way GSX is moving. Yeah. It looks pretty good, I mean, it is extremely, extremely volatile and risky. The IV on this stock is 200%. There's a lot of fake outs, a lot of choppy movement, so it's definitely hard to trade, but it looks like a pretty good setup, and smart money is definitely still holding. I just checked.
Yeah, and it really likes to run in the morning and then drop off towards like the afternoon, and then at the end maybe take another run up. So definitely watch out for that today. If it drops back down and holds support maybe like 27.50, it might be a good pickup to hold for the end of the day and into tomorrow maybe.
Sounds good. And then we also have James asking about SPCE. It's coming down right to that $20 support, which is interesting to see. I don't want to say bad or good, but it's just interesting to see. It's right at that 20 support level. They just fell so much over the past couple months, Tom. I mean, I know you used to be a pretty big fan of the stock, but it's not looking too good. Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, everyone always says that I was like a huge fan of the stock. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the stock at all. I'm just a huge fan of the movement. I liked it on the way up off of supports and stuff. I never thought it was going to be like a fantastic company or anything like that. But I will say I thought it could be a decent stock to trade over the past couple months. It did come down. We saw the CEO sell hundreds of millions of dollars worth of his shares. Cathie Wood unloaded a lot of shares as well over the past couple of weeks. So definitely be careful. I think that's the main reason it's going down. And whenever the CEO doesn't even have confidence in the company, I think that really shows what's going on here. And it was a good stock to trade on the way up. I personally was trading it back in these areas whenever it was trading between like $15 and $30. And then I ended up selling my shares around $40, I think. And then it just popped all the way up to $62.80. Ever since then, I have not even touched it, but it tanked all the way back down, which I kind of expected to happen because it's just one of those very volatile stocks. It just likes to run up and run. And you can see how volatile this is. In the past, it went from $6 to $42 and then all the way back down to 10. So it has a lot of volatile moves, and we're just in another one of those patterns where it's going down. But this time, the CEO and Cathie Wood sold out of a lot of their shares. So I think that's the big scare right there, especially when Cathie Wood does it.
Gotcha. So you're saying this like you were just looking at it for like short-term trades. You didn't really care about it too much for the long term, because I know that it is very volatile, which it is really good for short-term trading. The options are priced pretty well, so you were just liking it for like the short term.
Yeah, well, and they were having a lot of
like hype.
Yeah. Remember, there was a lot of hype on their test flights and stuff like that. So that was the main thing that I was trading it on. Like, for example, I knew that their test flight was coming up in a couple of months back here in October and November. So, for example, I knew that was coming up. So I would grab some shares and then wait for the news. And once that news or the hype heading into the news happened, then I would unload and then I would just wait for another hype event. And for example, right now, they were waiting for another event in May. There might be another test flight coming out in May, but we're having so much downwards momentum right now that it's going to have to be a pretty successful test flight for it to even affect the stock at all.
Sounds like a plan. And then we have Justin asking about NEO over the next 2 weeks. So NEO looks pretty good. I really like it for cash secured puts. I think it's actually, from like the research I've done, it's one of those stocks that you can get some really nice premiums for relative to the strike price. So we all know with like Amazon or Tesla, you might pick up, $100 or $200 if you go, like a 90% chance of winning put option. But with NEO, like relative to the stock price and collateral needed, you can get some really good premiums on it. So I love it for cash secured puts. But over the next 2 weeks, we can see that it has support right around $35 and then resistance right around like 42, a little bit around 40. So yeah, I mean, I think it looks good. I mean, I don't love it like as an A+ setup, but I would definitely say it looks pretty good. The cash secured put would definitely be like one of those like win-win scenarios though.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that this stock would be a fantastic consideration. Like, now for the longer term, now this stock could be one that I think I would consider for the longer term in a very serious sense. Like, this stock is in China. They do EVs. They could have tons of revenue opportunities in the future and make a lot of money. And I think that cash secured puts right now are very smart. Anywhere around this 35 support could be a fantastic area. If you could go out to 30 and get enough premium, it would be great. I will say it has a little bit of a downwards trend line that it's kind of holding on to right now that I'm highlighting on the chart. But I think that it's looking like it will break this. And the day it does break this, expect it to maybe post like a pretty good 2 or 3% day that day. Because normally whenever we see it break trends like this, it normally has a pretty good pop.
Sounds like a plan. And then we have, let's see, we have Piper saying, what do you guys think about FXR? SPAC deal merging with Beachbody. So let's take a look. FXR, the chart looks pretty good. Looks like they had a ton of volume come in right around January 22nd. If we go to their max chart, it looks pretty good. Kind of like a slow and steady stock. The IV is only around 19%, so it doesn't really move too much. My initial thoughts is like it looks pretty decent for like a long-term investment, but in terms of like short-term trades, remember that the IV is pretty low. It's only around 19%, like I said. So you're probably not going to get too much opportunities for day trades or anything like that, just because it's kind of like one of those slow-moving stocks like KO. Like KO, for example, I'm actually curious. If we pull up KO, their IV is 18%, 18.4%. So this thing moves about as much as KO moves, which is not really at all. So it doesn't look bad for like a long-term investment, but for the short term, you're probably not going to get too many opportunities for day trades.
Yeah, for sure. And even like with KO, like you talked about, like we're looking at it over the past couple days, and it's had some decent pops here. But the thing is that the stock is, even though it's posting these great green days, it's only moving like 50 cents a day or 40 cents a day. So it's just one of those stocks that it's just very slow and steady. We could see it likes to move up in the morning and then dip off at the end of the day, like a lot of the Dow stocks like to do. And that's just that's what kind of makes it move kind of slow, because it gives up a lot of those gains that it has, and then it has to remake them up the next day. And then, for example, today it might come back down to 54.20 again, and then tomorrow it might pop back up to 55. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But generally, these slower moving stocks are harder to trade with options unless you go further out of the money, or not further out of the money. You go longer, further out on your expirations. And I think that's a good thing to do. Is like I like to do a lot of like leaps and like go a few months out on stocks like KO.
Sounds good. Let's see what's going on with the market. So the SPY is pulling back just a little bit. Apple is also kind of doing nothing. It's only down around 0.7% on the day. Some of the biggest movers are Pfizer. It's still slow and steady to the upside, which is good to see. Pfizer is doing pretty well. If we take a look at Facebook, that's actually approaching lows. It has support right around 297. So definitely, oh wow, Facebook's actually moving a lot. IV is rising. Facebook is looking a little bit bearish right now. It actually looks pretty decent for like a downside day trade, or maybe even a swing at these levels. Just watch out for that 297 support. So yeah, watch out for that. I'm trying to see if there's any like order flow on Facebook, any big put option orders. Let's see. So it looks like the only big orders we have for Facebook is we have 2,906 calls filled at the 305 strike price for April 30th. At a price of $790 each. So it's definitely a pretty big order. Looks like these might be covered calls. It's hard to tell right now. But yeah, Facebook's definitely looking a little bit bearish. Just watch out for that support level. Let's see what else we have moving. We have IBM moving. We have AMD moving to the upside. Yeah, so Pfizer's definitely the main one for today. AMD's breaking resistance right around $80.50 with the next resistance right around 81. Let us know what you guys are watching. We'll cover those stocks. Thank you guys so much for being here. But yeah, I mean, Tom, you watching any levels? Let's take a look at Netflix. Yeah, it's not really doing anything. You might be muted, Tom. Can't hear you.
Yeah, Yasin says they were watching Boeing. Do you see any resistance levels? And I've seen a pretty good resistance here around $236, especially in pre-market. That was the high, and we're about to hit that right now on Boeing, and it's been moving up pretty well. If we break 236, possibly watch for a pretty good run back up to 237. Boeing's really been getting killed the past couple days, and I think that it could be a pretty good play right now.
Sounds great. And then let's take a look. We have Trevor saying KO is doing pretty good. Take a look at KO again. I know we covered it a couple minutes ago. It's actually very close to daily highs, which is great. IV is falling a little bit, but it looks pretty good. It's one of those slow and steady stocks. Like, it's not going to move like Apple or Tesla will, but definitely looks pretty decent. They have resistance right around $55. And then we have, let's see, we have The Squeeze saying HMBL. Like short squeezes, we do too. HMBL. Let's take a look at it. Let me pull it up real quick. Oh, wow. It's up around 16%. I'm not sure what the short interest is on this stock. It has support around $1, which looks decent. I don't really trade penny stocks, but I mean, it might look okay if you're someone who likes trading those low price stocks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I personally wouldn't be trading this. It looks like a pretty crazy setup going from $7 or $7.72 all the way down to around $1 now. So be very careful with it. I just think it's going to be a very volatile stock, but at least you are around some decent supports. But at the same time, it's just if you're going to day trade it, I recommend you do that rather than buy and hold this.
All right, and then we have Corbin saying, I'm watching GLD. Actually, I was watching this one last week. I missed the move on it, but it's breaking out. It looks pretty good. It's running pretty well right now. I like it. What do you think?
Yeah, I remember we called this out in the swings a while back, and we held it for a few days and ended up a winner on it. And we could have held it for a while longer, it looks like, but it is moving very well to the upside. There was a very good support on it at 157. I've been very bullish on GLD ever since it double bottomed down here around 157 to 160. I think it's a fantastic commodity, gold that is, and it's just a very good thing to trade. And you can trade a whole bunch of different catalysts with it. And right now, though, we are getting close to some resistances. So be very careful trading the calls right now, but they have been good over the past couple months. And it always seems like that there's good opportunities on GLD and SLV stock, which are just ETFs for gold and silver. And they move pretty well. The daily doesn't look well because there's lots of gap ups and gap downs, because that's how gold and stuff works, because there's gold futures and silver futures that trade overnight. But if we go to the 180-day, 15-minute, you can see the movement is a lot more defined, and it really looks like a regular stock there.
Good stuff. And then we have, we have Trevor saying, can you guys take a look at PG? So this one reported earnings, I want to say yesterday. They're starting to pull back a very, very little bit right now. They're down around 0.1%. So, it doesn't look bad. It's a very slow moving stock. It's a value stock. It's a pretty good long-term stock. I'm trying to sort through some of the order flow from this morning to see any notable options orders. It looks like the most notable order was that someone filled 100 contracts of the 150 strike puts that expire on May 21st of 2021. And then they filled 100 contracts at around $1,290 each. So let me take a look at this one a little bit more in depth. It was the 150 puts. Let me pull this up real quick. I just want to see if they're covering a play, or if it's an opening play. Give me 1 second to check this out. So yeah, it's definitely an opening play. I mean, it could be seen as bearish because the option is about, $13 in the money. It has some decent time on it too. So I don't know. I'm going to say I'm pretty neutral on it. I'm not sure if you're looking at this for a day trade or a swing or whatever it is, but it's a slow moving stock. It's historically been a great stock to hold long term. It is it's a slow moving stock. The IV is only around 20%, but that option order is definitely pretty notable.
Yeah, for sure. And did you see, I actually just saw that Nat posted in our discussion, or in our SM chat, that Cathie Wood loaded up on DraftKings yesterday. Did you hear about that, Mike?
I didn't know yesterday. I've been following some of her trades, and I know she's been loading up on DraftKings a lot lately. DraftKings and Zoom especially, and I believe you also, so Unity. But yeah, I really like DraftKings and Zoom at these levels. I think they're great. But yeah, I saw that she's been buying more and more and more shares lately.
Yeah, wow. This company, which you said Unity, Unity Software, which they're a very good company in their own. They're actually down quite a bit this year. This could be a pretty good pickup, actually. I might be grabbing some shares for the ride back up on this one. I really like the bounces off supports here. The way it's moving on the daily and the way it has this very solid green candle today also looks fantastic. I actually really like this setup, and man, I really like all the stuff Cathie trades. She's been getting hurt a little bit lately with some of these pullbacks, but I will say Unity and a lot of those other stocks she has look very good.
For sure. I know she bought some Netflix right before earnings, and it didn't end up in her favor, but sometimes that happens. You can't win every time. But ARKK is doing good today. It's up a little bit under 1%. It pulled back a lot over the past 2 months, you can say, but a lot of stocks did, so you can't blame Cathie for it. But yeah, I mean, it's up. ARKK is up around 1% today, which is good to see. It sucks that Netflix didn't work in her favor, but sometimes that happens.
Yeah, and we're even seeing the new space exploration ETF, ARKX, even took a dip yesterday, like we talked about, falling from 21 all the way down to $20 now. It looks like 20 is going to pose as a pretty good support here as we pop back up today. But man, this stock, I'm pretty bullish on this one in the longer term. But with a lot of these stocks at highs, I'm just kind of scared to see some pullbacks here in it.
Sounds great. And then we have M saying, what about AMD? So let's take a look at AMD. It's up around 2%. They have earnings pretty soon. Let me take a look at their hourly chart. They have resistance right around 81, so be careful for that level. Looks like they're struggling right around that level right now. Just be careful for 81. If it breaks above that, that can be pretty good. 81, and then the next resistance is right around, you could say like $82.25.
Yeah, for sure. AMD is always a good thing to trade too. It is one of the semiconductors, and it has ran quite a bit today. I would personally expect it to maybe start to have a pullback around here, like you said, around 81. So definitely watch for it to break, because it's gonna have to have a pretty solid move up, I think, to break that level.
Sounds great. And then let's see what these next questions we have. Let's see. We have Oliver saying, looks like GSX wants to move up. Any resistance to break on this? So we've been talking about GSX like since like the first live stream right when we started, which was on Monday. So it's doing pretty good. It's up around 2.5% on the day. What are some of the next resistance levels?
Yeah, we actually have to go pretty far out. So let me try to get a little further out here on my 15-minute chart, but it looks like we're seeing a pretty good resistance here around the $30 level. So definitely watch out for that. I think that we might hit that. And obviously, the high of today is going to be a big deal as well. We're seeing 28.80. So if we break 28.80, watch for a solid move up to $30. But we have seen a lot of good movement out of this, and you can see how volatile this gets. It likes to move a lot at open, and then it likes to drop off a little bit and then move back up. So definitely watch out for it to possibly come down a little bit lower off of this little pullback it's having right now.
All right, and then Oliver was also saying Cathie also got some more Palantir. So if we look at Palantir, it's actually up today around 1.5%, which is kind of a little bit surprising. Palantir's been down almost like so much over the past, you could say, 3 months almost. So it's good to see that it's finally up. I love it for cash secured puts. I like it for the long term as well. It looks pretty good. It's bouncing off that support right around like $21. So the next here, let me look at some possible resistance levels. We have some chop at 23 and then 24, but overall, I like it for the long term.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Palantir should do pretty well. On the max daily, we're actually right at that support, and we have another good green day right on that. And I don't know how many times we're going to bounce off of this, but it looks like a pretty good pickup. If it starts to fall down, just cut it right away. It can be a pretty simple trade there. So I think off of technicals, it looks pretty good. But if we do break this, I mean, I'm going to be pretty bearish on it though, but I don't think we will. I think we're going to hold this level, and hopefully Palantir can kind of hold its own here. It's been a pretty hyped up stock, and if it does fall down, I think it's gonna hurt a lot of people. But I think that at the same time, I think it's gonna hold. So we're just gonna have to see what happens over the next couple of days. But I would definitely throw it on your radar, because bouncing off this support, it's had big moves from 21 all the way back up to 26 in the past. So just watch out.
Tom, we got to take a look at NCLH. We have some people talking about it. It's up around 7% today. It's making higher lows, which is great to see. And remember, yesterday Airlines tanked. UAL was down about 8% yesterday. Today they're up around 1.5%. I know they were falling a little bit at open, but these airlines and cruise lines are reversing, which is great to see. I like it for the long term. I know it's pretty risky, especially like the sector and industry that it's in. But, I think a small position doesn't hurt. It has support around 26, resistance right around 30. So I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. And they were taking pretty good dips. It's bouncing right off of the 100 SMA as well. I'm really liking that move to the upside. Sometimes whenever we see these cruise lines like NCLH and some of the other ones, we can see a continuation play out of these. And I think that we might see another bounce, possibly retest $30 over the next couple of days. So just watch out for it. I think it's a pretty good stock. NCLH and a lot of these other ones have been recovering pretty nicely, and they are starting to consolidate a little bit. It was worrying me a little more yesterday, but this recovery today is actually very nice on it.
Sounds great. And then, like, Tom, is there any major stocks you're looking at? Like, I know that IBM's moving up a little bit, CRSP's moving up a little bit. Let's see, GM is moving up a little bit. The main things I'm seeing right now that are really moving are these airlines and cruise lines.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually going to go to CNBC really quick and check out what kind of news we're looking at today. See if there's anything interesting coming out. But let's see. FDA finds poor conditions at the Baltimore plant that ruined millions of doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So that could be pretty bad. Let's go check out J&J. I know that they've had some interesting movement over the past few days with that vaccine news, and they are pretty flat today. They had good earnings yesterday, and actually went up pretty well, and it looked like they had a lot of momentum, but I think that bad news today might kind of hinder them. So we'll have to see what happens. If they can break 167.79 to the upside, it might be pretty good though. And as far as the other news goes, there's actually not too much interesting news coming out so far today. Most of it's just political news and stuff like that. So just watch out. There is an article saying Facebook, Google, and Amazon are reaping the benefits from the advertising during the pandemic. So watch out for those ones. But those stocks haven't been doing too well. I know Amazon has, but Facebook over the past few days has been doing pretty terrible. So maybe that good article will help them out, but I doubt it.
I was actually just looking at Facebook. Remember, like we talked about earlier, that 297 support level. So it's definitely consolidating around this level. But if it breaks below it, I'd be pretty bearish. IV is rising on it, so Facebook's definitely on my radar. I just want to look at these airlines a little more. Like they're starting to pop back up. CCL, that's cruise line, obviously, but yeah, they're really starting to pop back up. They are making higher lows, most of them, which is a pretty good sign for the long term. I mean, let me look at NCLH again. It's already up 7.5% today, which is in the 90, what is it, like the 90, yeah, it's like in the 91 percentile of its moves. So, it kind of moved a lot today, but I think it should be pretty decent for the long term. And then with some of our questions, we have Margaret saying, can you take a look at Peloton? So PTON, I know they fell a lot earlier this week with their bad treadmill news. It's sitting right around 103 right now. It has a pretty big support around 100. I might sell some puts on this one later today or even tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. It's a fantastic setup right now off that 102 support. It even hit it just a few minutes ago, and it started to go back up. So watch out for this. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting stock today. I'm going to be more neutral on it than anything until we see it start to move. But it would be a good time to do those cash secured puts, like you said, or just to get shares if you like it for the longer term. Shares are never a bad idea either if you're not familiar with cash secured puts yet. But I will say, I think it's in a pretty big head and shoulders pattern on the daily. So just be pretty careful with it. There has been some bad news with it as well. So hopefully that news does not hinder it too much. But I'm just going to go ahead and keep drawing out this head and shoulders pattern that I'm talking about because I think it's pretty significant. I don't know, obviously it might not go this way, but this is the way I'm kind of looking for it to go is maybe break this bottom support here, maybe around $100 and go a little bit lower to the downside if it's following this head and shoulders pattern, that is. But keep in mind that this pattern might not be valid. It might still move its own way or some news might come out. So just keep in mind that if it breaks support, watch for it because it might go a little bit lower.
All right, it looks like we have AMD rallying up. Tom, it broke past that $80.50 resistance, getting pretty close to that $81 resistance. It's definitely rallying up around 2%. Volume's flowing in. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, there we go, man. You're heading up to 81. Finally, these semiconductor stocks are doing well. I've been wanting to pick up AMD actually over the past few months as it's been kind of consolidating here at these lows. And I had them at $80 and I sold them at like 84 a few weeks ago. I was going to pick them up again, but once it fell out of this trend, I kind of figured it was going to keep going to the downside. But with all this semiconductor news and the shortages and everything, I would expect that to really help AMD. And guys, let me know in the chat if you guys are still bullish on AMD and all these semiconductor stocks with all this stuff going on, because it seems like that the overall sentiment lately has been pretty neutral. And it's kind of scary to see that, because a lot of people were really bullish on AMD. That was one of the biggest hype stocks of the year, or the past 2 years, I should say. People really love that company, and to see it be this flat is kind of worrisome given the kind of sector that they're in. So hopefully when this shortage goes away, all these profits that they're reaping will really help them kind of explode, because stocks that are similar to them, like Nvidia, they're really high. So you would think that AMD will catch up.
Well, let's check in on Mara and Riot. I know everyone loves these stocks. We have P asking about Riot. It looks like it actually went from red to green, which is good to see. Mara is still red today, but overall they look pretty good. I know that Bitcoin influences their prices a lot. Riot is right around support, around, you could say like 35. Yeah, you could say like right around 35, 36. So I like it. It looks like a pretty decent dip buy. I like it for cash secured puts. In my opinion, it's a total win-win. And we have the SPY pumping up a little bit too. Looks like we are breaking the high of day on the SPY. Looks like we're just going vertical, Tom. Look at this.
Yeah, there we go. Going vertical. We're getting right around that 414 resistance as well. We're passing right above it. I personally have my resistance posted at around 414.25. So watch out. I think that we might hit off one of these resistances, but I will say on the 15-minute chart, it really held this red 1000 SMA that I'm highlighting right now. I mean, it bounced off of it 4 or 5 times over the past day or two, and it's just a pretty interesting level to watch. That 1000 SMA and the 100 SMA, which is the purple one, those two are the I would say the two SMAs that get touched the most or have the most reactions to the market. And it's just nice to see that kind of hold that level and also hold that support at 411, which is also a good thing. When it's touching the 1000 and the support at the same time, we see lots of movement. I love the movement out of the SPY. We're going vertical. It's been a bad past couple days out of the SPY, Mike. I mean, I was kind of thinking the market might start to really crash off here, but today with this recovery, it's nice to see. So hopefully as the week goes on, we can kind of hold these levels and keep going back up, because if not, I mean, man, we're kind of overextended. We might see a pretty good drop.
For sure. And then we have Patel saying, can you take a look at Square? So Square's pumping up a little bit. It had resistance / support around 245, starting to pop above that. Its next resistance is right around 255. So I think it looks good. I like it for the long term. If we look at their daily chart, you know, they just pulled back over the past like 4 or 5 days, and they're starting to pop back up a little bit. So I like it. I think it looks like a pretty good setup for the long term. I know it exploded over the past like 2 to 3 weeks, but I don't think it's bad. Like, I'm not sure if you're looking at this for like a day trade or like a long-term hold or a swing trade, but I definitely like it for a long-term hold. They have resistance, short-term resistance around like 255, if that helps for any short-term trades. But Tom, do you have any like top stocks you're watching for the rest of the day? Any important stocks, any important news, anything you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm really going to be watching those airlines. I think that's a pretty important thing right now. Like UAL, DAL, even the cruise lines like CCL, NCLH, they're really starting to run back up. If we look at those daily charts, they're looking great. I think that with those falls that we've been seeing, we might see another retest of the highs here around $30, like on CCL, for example. If we go out to Delta Airlines, which is one of the better airlines, they're also hitting off the 100 SMA and posted a great green candle today, also off support around 43. So it's just great movement out of a lot of these stocks, and they're also hitting supports. So just watch out for a possible continuation tomorrow. I will say, be very careful, because we have so much green right now in the market today that don't be surprised if we see some of these stocks kind of come back down. Like, for example, DAL might come down to 44.60 and consolidate for the rest of today and then pop again tomorrow. So there's going to be some movement back to the downside today. These things aren't going to just go straight up. If they do, that would be a pretty good day, but they're already up about 1.8%. And I think that we're going to see a lot more volatility, as in more up and down movement, than we are going to see just straight up movement for the rest of today. But it is looking fantastic. We're seeing runners out of that. The SPY was running like we were talking about, getting close to that resistance around 414.25. So it's just looking like the market overall is having a very good day compared to what we were having to start the week and to end the week last week, because I think a lot of people were starting to get pretty worried about the markets turning pretty bearish. And I think that this is a pretty big thing to watch, is these supports on the SPY, because man, this 410 to 411 support has been holding up pretty well. And if we can't break that, then as we all know, the SPY just loves to rip the new highs, and we might see it do that again tomorrow if it can hold.
Well, sounds great. Really, thank you guys so much for joining us. We have a great time streaming, and, we really do appreciate your guys' support. Thanks for showing up and asking questions. We had a great time. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We hope you have a great trading day. GSX is breaking high a day right now, so it's pretty interesting. The SPY is ripping up a little bit, but thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.